Hey, welcome back. So here we are with part four of my testimony. So last time we talked about how I had to go through physical therapy and doctors, still dealing with my injury, casting down my mom as an idol, how I got introduced to masturbation, going to cosmetology school and starting a business. So today we're gonna go further into what my life looked like going into 2022 because I'm still in school and I'm still running a business. So, for the most part, starting off the year, it's just nothing much going on except that I'm going to school because I did have COVID at the end of 2021, going into 2022. I ended up, I thought that I had to go and make up the hours that I missed because I missed out for 2 weeks. And it actually turned out into something very funny that I went making up hours and I didn't have to. So I had like 105% attendance rate, and it actually cut down my time on how long I had to be there. So I actually got to graduate a little sooner than later, which was something that was kind of funny. But as I'm still in cosmetology school, I'm still growing, trying to figure out things I like. I, based off of my eccentric behavior, I had a lot of fun time with cutting hair primarily and even coloring. I mean, whenever we had to do work on our mannequins, for me, it kind of reminded me back when I had my dolls. I used to do all my dolls' hair, so I would like do every single one of them, take them all out, and then go over it again. So for me, cosmetology was that fun creative outlet that I got to go in. And when it came to my business, I was actually struggling because I didn't have a cosmetology license yet. Because I found out I could braid hair without a cosmetology license, I tried to get braiding clients, which was very difficult for me to do. And I would have some situations where I did get clients, but I didn't get a lot. And it just was very hard. I still had money from my settlement, but by this point, um, I was paying rent, so that took up more of the money that I did have, and I had a very limited amount of money. And it wasn't that I had an issue with paying rent, because in the past I would even go to my mom and say, hey, like, here's money, and she wouldn't always want to take it. She'll take it sometimes, but not all the time. And when it came to me paying rent, there was the first time where she yelled, arguing at me that I don't pay her anything and I'm living at her home for free. And I remember I was kind of angry that she didn't even come and talk to me about it. I had no problem with paying rent. I wouldn't expect her to let me just stay there rent free. I was just more upset that she didn't come and talk to me about it. And when I had to look at my finances at the time, all I could afford to pay monthly for rent was $300. Eventually, like about 2 months later, she eventually was arguing and yelling at me again, saying that the $300 I gave her was tipping her. Now, mind you, she didn't even set an official rent. She didn't even tell me what day of the month, so I always just had to go and make sure I gave her rent, and I just naturally assumed the first of the month or the beginning of the month, so that's what I would do. But when she would argue, just came out arguing mad at me, she said between me and my sister, who was also living with her at the time, it's an additional $1,000 in expenses. And I remember I went to the Lord angry and upset, like, why couldn't she just come and talk to me? Why couldn't she just come and just be like a normal parent, just say, hey, you're living here, it's time for you to pay rent? I wouldn't have had an issue with that. And I had a problem how she didn't tell me what she wanted me to pay her, but rather just been angry about it. But God wanted me to still do it in honoring my mother, which was something that me and the Lord had been talking on and off about, even like especially when I started my faith walk with the Lord, because He wanted me to still honor my mom's authority. So there was a point that I ended up having to pay $500 per month, and of course, it messed with the things that I did need when it came to going to school. And it got to a point where my money was going real quickly, and wasn't having any income coming back in. So I'm in school. I'm trying to build my clientele, which I have no help of doing. And when I got a client, it was like every so often, and I was still making products, and I had to go out to places and actually sell products. That the last time I actually went to a craft fair, I didn't even make a sale. So that was like really upsetting for me because I worked very hard making sure I had everything that I needed, and I didn't even make a sale. Then what else? It was also during this time while it was still difficult. Me and my mom were still not talking. The only time when there's talking between me and my mom is when she's coming out to yell at me about something and arguing, saying that I'm not doing this or that. And because there had even been times, and it was like a count of 2 or 3 times where she would have me have the whole family out together in the living room. And I call this the public execution, because then that's where she would sit there and say things that she has against me and have my sister and my brother do it. And I remember during these times, those were like very hard times because I was also very uncertain, unsure of myself. And up until everything that I was going through with my mom, I always believed everything my mom said and trusted her judgment, because I always believed that parents knew more than kids, and so I should be able to trust them and rely on what they say. But the thing was, I had to sit there and be like, Lord, I need truth. I don't know who to believe. I don't know if to believe myself or believe what my family is saying, because this is not just one person, it's more than one person doing this. And I'm not gonna lie, God showed up in each and every single time, because the moment they tried to blame me for something, my mom ended up turning around and having to take accountability for it because she got exposed in that moment. So I'm very grateful that I was silently praying to myself, saying, Lord, I need truth. I need you to tell me the truth. What's going on? I don't know what the truth is. I need you to tell me what the truth is. And God really did come and defend me those nights when that would happen. Now, on the part dealing with, oh my goodness, when it came to believing my parents and trusting my parents, and particularly my mom, I ended up being confronted by a friend that I made actually in cosmetology school, and about masturbation, in particular because it was a sexual sin. Now, at the time, I didn't know. I had read the Bible all the way through, and I had not seen any references to masturbation. It's always usually towards um, fornication, homosexuality. Uh, I think there's even a mention of bestiality, but I think that's more like in the law. There's more references to incest as well, and even rape, but nothing really dealing with masturbation. Now, the thing was, I trusted my mom and I trusted her judgment. And so, because my friend confronted me on it, of course, the conversation didn't go well, and I didn't receive the information well, because I felt like she was saying that my mom was wrong, which, frankly, not only was I wrong, but but from what my mom has taught me, was also wrong. And because I didn't want to accept that the information from my mom was wrong, me and that friend, our friendship ended up ending because of it. So it took some time later, which I did go and reconcile when a little later on. But when it came to this, when I got confronted on it, I did start asking the question, is this wrong? Is this a sin? Because I clearly did have a habit of masturbation, and I didn't know if it was right or wrong. It wasn't until later I eventually found out that it was, but I'll talk about that later when we get there. Then Now, because with everything going on, as I'm learning and growing in cosmetology, I'm trying to get a business going. I have, even with me and my mom not talking, I essentially have no family that I can just communicate, bond with. Me and my best friend, actually, our friendship got even better during that time. She was going through stuff, I was going through stuff, so we were able to come and tell each other. And because we, even though we grew up with each other and knew each other and been friends since the fifth grade, there was a certain point, like in 2016, 2017, she ended up moving to New Jersey. And whenever we hung out, we had to plan it out because she would be working, I was working, so we actually had to put our calendars together and actually schedule a day to actually come in and hang out, whether she came down to Delaware or I went up to Jersey. And then at this point, and dealing with the relationship with me and my mom, we ended up hanging out almost every weekend. So it was frequent. Whenever she came down to Delaware to spend the weekend with her mom, I would show up. There would be sometimes, if I was able to, I would go up to Jersey. So usually, like, we were in uh, constant communication, and our friendship actually was growing from that point on, because we were both going through different things. And when we would come together, we kind of just be like, we just telling each other, like, this is what happened. We were updating each other on everything that was going on, even though we were texting every day. It was so much. This is different when we finally got to be face to face and tell each other what was going on, which I gotta say, that was one of the greatest things I had during that time, because what I was going through with my family, I really did feel alone and isolated. So fast forward, because this is like months of going on, and it was something. This one big thing happened. It happened the week of my birthday, which was in September. And when I was going to cosmetology school, I went to cosmetology school for 3 days out of the week, and it was a full time day. So I think it was like a 10-hour day, 3 days a week. And I get to school. I'm sitting in the parking lot. I'm usually there early, and I'm just doing my norm, just chilling. And then all of a sudden, my car starts smoking, and I'm freaking out because it's out of nowhere. My car just starts leaking. It was noticed that I leaked antifreeze, and I tried to get the I tried to drive my car to a mechanic, but I did not get far. I had to call, of course, my mom, because my car, this had happened. I had AAA, so I was able to have my car towed to the mechanic. So I ended up having to go to the mechanic. I rode in the tow truck to the mechanic, and my brother came and picked me up. When I got home, my sister was home. My mom was at work, and I remember I just felt like I had the weight of the world on my shoulders. I had no way how to pay this huge repair that took place. The money that I could have had, it ended up being used towards rent, and I still had other things I had to pay for. I still had a business that I was running, and there would be times I'm paying for things in my business. So I have a lot of money coming out of me and not enough coming back in. And I remember that day, I'm on the phone. My mom's on is on my sister's phone because my sister had to come out. So my mom's on speaker on my sister's phone, and I have the mechanic on speaker on my phone. And they're all talking, and he's giving the estimate of how much it's going to be to get my car fixed. And as I'm sitting there freaking out because I don't know how to pay it, and I'm also sitting there thinking, like, I'm not going to have a car for a while. I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'm not going to have a car. My mom goes ahead and says that she'll pay for it, which I was really grateful when she said that. I was stressed out and upset about how this was all going to go, because I was so upset. I had to go take a nap, and once I got up, I was able to go focus on what needed to be done. But I knew the first thing I needed to do was when my mom came home to thank her, because she didn't have to pay for my car getting fixed, but she just came up and volunteered to pay for my car. When she came home, I immediately went to her and said, "Mommy, thank you. When I get the chance, I'll pay you right back." That was just all that was on my mind to do, because I knew it was a huge repair, like $1,000 repair, and she didn't have to use that money on me, but she did. It was then she proceeded to have a conversation with me and talking about how all the bad things that's happened in my life and how things are just getting worse. It's here she's demonizing me, saying that I'm doing something wrong, accusing me of not actually following the Lord, that I'm actually acting more like my father and how things didn't go well, even though my father constantly was not reputable as a person. Not only was he an abusive man, he was deceitful and just and a cheat as well. Wherever he could, he always tried to get his way out of things. Versus me, I was the opposite. I was someone who would get up and do the work. I wasn't lazy. I was truthful and forward with things that were going on. But because of things not going well in my life, my mom is comparing me to my dad, essentially calling me just like my dad. And be mindful, not only is my car in the shop, I'm already upset about I didn't have the money for it. I'm going to have to miss school for a couple days. And then it's also that week is my birthday. It was that Friday in particular, so I'm home for the next couple days, can't go anywhere. I'm already working at Supercut, so I had to walk to work. My mom did offer to drive me, and on the first day I walked because it was a nice day, so I went ahead and walked. But afterwards, like, she ended up picking me up from work, taking me and picking me up from work. But it was that week, while I'm already stressed out about dealing with my car, my mom gave me 6 months to move out that same day. So I have a car in the shop. I'm already struggling financially because I don't have the things I need to just to keep going. I'm like, the more I have more money coming out of me, not enough coming in, and my mom drops this extra bomb on me where I have to now work extra hard and do more just to move out within the 6 month time period. And of course, I don't know what to do, and I had to start looking for apartments. So I started looking for apartments, trying to figure out how I'm going to pay for everything that needs to be paid for, knowing that I don't have a job yet. Not only do I not have a job yet, I didn't even complete my cosmetology school. I was like a month away from graduating, and I didn't even take the test yet that I needed to take in order to do hair. So while I was at Supercuts, I was first there as a receptionist, and my pay wouldn't change until I actually became a stylist. But then I just had all this pressure weight put on me in one instance. So that night, it's like I just literally went through emotional abuse, a heavy weight of it, and then already had the financial struggles that was already on my shoulders. And eventually, I did graduate. And when I graduate, I didn't even invite my family to come see me graduate. The only one who was there to see me graduate was my best friend. Because the last thing I wanted to hear was her criticize something about whether the school, the people, or me. I didn't want to hear it. It was my day, and that was that. I continued out the school year I finished out the school year. I continued out the year working at Supercuts. I eventually became full time. I got I can't remember what it's called, but I got to work at Supercuts under being a manager until I went and took my test to go get my cosmetology license. I took the test to go get my cosmetology license. So I have so much going on, and I had to work, and that's what ended up happening. I ended up working going into the end of the year. And yeah, that was pretty much it. The only other thing that was big about that year was that I did my first fast, and I had to do this fast a little differently. Originally, I was just trying to take better care of myself. And I was like, since I'm going to be doing something like a fast, I might as well be praying to the Lord during this time too. So I had an all liquid fast, and this is not a real fast. And I set out the parameters of this fast, which it did work because God ended up showing up and blessing me in the beginning of the next year. So that was for today. Today we were looking at primarily what happened in 2022. While it seems very simple, not a lot of big activity, there was a lot of emotional hardship that I faced, and eventually the financial hardship that I faced too. And it was crazy. So I kind of was like numb by a certain point in that year because it was like every time I turned around, I kept getting hit with something. But going into 2023, which things kind of take a very interesting turn, we'll talk about next time. So this video is being released today. Part 5 will not be released until Monday, and I thought this would be a 5-part series. This may be more than 5 parts because there's so much that has taken place, and there is even more about the Lord that the Lord has had to teach me and heal me through. So until next time, have a good one.